Alright guys, I'll try to make this short and sweet, but I do have to start with NVIDIA to make it make sense. If you guys remember, back in 23, right, we had this inverse head and shoulders, but really it was a timing thing that's more important. If you guys remember, the right shoulder kind of took place here from December to January. Very similar to what we have going on now, right, where we're talking about this equity buyback going into this January OPEX, the positive flows that are kind of waiting for that end of year, and really asset reallocation where a certain percent of the liquidity in the market is reallocated into the market and essentially used for that buyback. And if we kind of look at the current market, I mean, we're up a ton, right? So there's a lot of reallocation or money that's kind of going to be used to push the market further or be used to go into particular sectors or themes or particular names. And this is where we start to see money pulled from laggers or names that have been leading and going into a new kind of shift, right? A paradigm shift or some kind of name that thematically is going to be kind of the next big thing. And that's really what we saw happen to NVIDIA. Because if you take a look after this right shoulder, kind of going into the end of year flow, it never really turned back around, right? And this was that paradigm shift, right? Where essentially the dispersion started to occur. We saw Tesla not performing well or selling off. We saw Apple not performing and or selling off. We saw Microsoft, Google, a lot of names underperform and or sell, whereas Nvidia just kept rallying. And it became this almost a black hole where all the liquidity, all the money that was being dumped from one name or a particular sector or particular theme was then being just pumped into this name. And we saw this insane rally, right? The rally was unheard of. It was Tesla 2.0, right? Remember Tesla from back previous split? I don't think I would have ever thought, or I don't think I ever thought I would see something like that, but we saw it here with NVIDIA, right? And this really all started from that 23 end of year flow, right? And we saw the dispersion trade with NVIDIA kind of being the forefront of that. Now, I mean, we're starting to, I don't want to say this is distribution just yet. It's kind of giving the vibes of it. But what we're starting to see is kind of like that, like a new dawn, if you will. And I think that's really going to start to occur with crypto and Tesla, right? I think primarily crypto-based names in ARKK, but I could see it happening with some of the names in the Russell as well. And I think it's really important to not lose sight of some of these crypto names on pullbacks. Also, Tesla on pullbacks, and I would say Roku is a big one as well. Just kind of looking at our ARKK as a whole. But I really want to like talk about some of these names, right? Obviously, excuse me. Obviously, Coin's kind of gone, right? I think we can all agree this name has a lot of work to do in terms of a pullback. But if it were to pull back, let's say something happens with CPI, I'm definitely still open to taking the pullback here and a retest of 270. It's these weekly highs. It's also the gap that was just kind of formed. It's technically an NWOG as well, right? If we take a look, this weekly candle is very, very apparent that we gapped up. Massive, massive gap. I don't know if it necessarily has to fill. You can almost consider this like a peg, right? It's just a massive breakaway candle on pure strength. Very similar to this one. I don't think this one needs to fill anytime soon either. But if we were blessed and we somehow got a pullback down to 270, I would be looking to long dips on Coin. However, I think this name is it's severely overpriced now. IV is pretty insane considering the volume and the consistent gap ups we've had. But I do think we have a hidden gem here, and that's where I want to jump into Riot, right? I think Riot is going to be something special. I do think Mara can continue to squeeze guys, but if we take a look at the difference between Riot and Mara, Riot definitely has that long upper wick, and it did break out, right? This is a really pretty chart in the sense that it did break out. I mean, we're now kind of still in this general range where we have a lot of room to still kind of move towards these 2021, 2022 levels. And it's still at the bottom of this basing kind of formation down here, right? We just broke out of these like weekly lower highs here. You guys can clearly see like lower high here, right? It is a lower high, but it's also just a clean flat resistance. But off of this 13 level, right, which ties in really nicely to that same gap that Coin has. So if we just simply draw this and this, right, and just make this green, we have a nice little zone here that I think we could get a pullback entry on, right? And we already start to see a little bit of slippage here with the current daily candle that could give us, just that little bit of pullback that we need. This name's not as strong as some of the other ones, and that's why I wanted to look at this one, because if we take a look at Mara, I mean, Mara really strong close near the highs. Really, I mean, it just has a little bit more room to go to, I would say, get to this lower high. You also got to think, though, right? This name has 26% short interest. This name broke out, right? And if this name is going to get squeezed, I think it can happen really quickly. It'll probably happen in an overnight session when we don't have control. I think right now, I don't want to pull up my phone because it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm pretty sure this is at like 26 right now, or 26.50. So this name could squeeze. I think earnings is obviously tomorrow as well, so that could play a role. Maybe this is what gives us that pullback where we could enter then. But yeah, this name for right now is kind of off the table. So I think Riot is the option right now. If this is going to pull back, I'm going to be looking to long off 1307 to 1281. Obviously, I probably should have been taking it back here, but you guys kind of like know, man. Like I'm not like the biggest crypto bull. I think trading crypto, you have to have a lot of conviction in certain setups. Maro is also pretty difficult. If we're just being honest, right? This name pretty much did nothing. I mean, besides these big pushes here, but for this majority of this, like, it did nothing. A lot of the holders have messaged me and they said, you're right, like this name has been awful to hold. Every rip has been sold. Every sell-off is like really fucking stressful. And really it just paid off today, honestly, where it had the, and I guess you could say technically like Thursday the 7th, or sorry, the 6th. But this name has been pretty trash up until that point. But you know, I think now is really good to kind of still keep your eyes on, because it is obviously now breaking out of key specific levels, and I'm talking about like crypto as a whole. Obviously Bitcoin as well at all-time highs. We take a look here. I mean, this is a clear breakout. This name, and dude, with the new administration, you can't really ignore that factor, guys. Like this, I think this is going to outperform and do incredibly well. But yeah, clear breakout here, retested the trend line, just massive rip. I don't think that this is going to slow down anytime soon. And really, like I said, I think we're going to see a lot of names in the Mag 7 be sold off, right? And I think we're going to see that dispersion trade now occur into crypto-related names. I think we're going to see laggards start to go. Obviously, the leaders are going to continue to lead, but I think that money's going to go into these names. I think it's going to go into, like I said, ARKK. So we'll tie that into Tesla here in a second. But yeah, if we can just get some kind of pullback to 1307 to 1281, I'm willing to long Riot and kind of look for a big rally back up towards these highs, right around 18 to 20. So this definitely needs to stay on watch. How I got that level, once again, pretty easy. The gap here into these weekly kind of like lower high / resistance zones at like 1307 ties really nicely as well into this progression gap here, right? 1306 is this progression gap. If we pull this up just a little bit more, you guys can see like this could even be a zone in itself, right? And like right around here where it could be a buy if we start to see buyers step in there. We'll have to kind of see how it plays out, right? But I definitely want to be looking to long dips on Riot. I did want to touch on what is it? MSTR. I know this game is, or not this game, this stock is completely gone. I wasn't going to chase this. I think it's at like 369. It's insane. If they ever do come back to 200, I swear I will be buying this. I kind of understand the company a little bit better, and yeah, I'll be buying this one. But yeah, overall, I think Riot's kind of the move. Coin, if it can somehow pull back, and then Mara post earnings, right, would kind of be of interest. I definitely don't think these names are done. I think these names are in the early stages of what happened to Nvidia way back here, right? Way back, where it feels like they're almost gone and you can't get into them, but they give you these little small pullbacks into previous gaps, and they continue and they keep going and they keep going, and then you get breakaway gap. Like, I think it's going to be the same exact thing. Now, let's talk about Tesla, because Tesla, I think, is also going to be a big thing here, too. Obviously, I think we're a little bit higher in the extended hours, but if we can just somehow, like I said, get a pullback, I don't know. I don't think this just goes straight to 384, guys, into 414. Who knows? This thing could squeeze, and it sucks because I know I was in this. I closed around like this zone up here, so it does hurt. I have shares, but like I want to get options on this, but I can't chase this. I can't justify it. If you start breaking rules now, guys, you won't last in trading, and it's okay. There's going to be other setups. Like I said, important to understand that there are laggers, and ARKK is a basket, right? We have other names that we can trade that will benefit off of these names ripping, right? But this name, if it can just pull back to 300, I know it sounds like a big ask now, but pull back to 300 to 289, which is this progression gap here, I would be so open to longing this. Maybe even just a little bit lower, right? Maybe like down to here. So just kind of opening up this zone from like 299 to 279. We could just round that to 280. Sorry, let me move this up 1 second. If I can get it. We'll just go to that wick. There we go. Sorry, so yeah, 280, 280.93. I'll be willing to long that. I think that would be a pretty good retest zone. But yeah, we have to get to some kind of pullback here before I do anything. Kind of gave spinning top vibes today. I'm starting to exhaust out just a tiny bit. Obviously, you guys know I took that SPY short. This is going to look kind of fucked up, I'm not going to lie, because my colors, I had white today. Like my white background and whatnot. But you guys can kind of see, right? We have dark pool prints, major ones at like 595. So basically bidding each previous close before the next day's following gap up, right? So we're starting to see this exhaust in terms of buying pressure kind of dying down as we're making our way up. The gap ups are becoming less and less, and we obviously have one major gap up, we have another major gap up, and then the gaps are becoming less and less, like I said. So we're starting to see exhaustion gaps occur, which is going to take one day where we're probably going to open either flat or right near the previous close, maybe a push up to the previous open or close, whatever it ends up being, right? We're going to fail to make a new high essentially, and then I think we're going to start to see this thing throw up. I think it'll go 595, then 591, and ideally it ends up selling down and just retesting this old high here and defending the gap before I think we're going to trend back up, honestly. But that might give us that pathway, right, to start longing and giving us a broader market sell-off, and we can start looking at like Tesla, we can start looking at ideally Roku, which I'll show next. But ideally, that's kind of the pathway to be able to get some of these dips, is just some kind of parabolic short that occurs on the indexes. Now, to kind of move forward, I was talking about dispersion. If money starts to pull out of NVIDIA and basically the black hole that was NVIDIA that sucked up a lot of the liquidity, that will start to be used in other names, right? And if you think about it from like an administration point of view, Trump's talked a lot about you're going to be banning Taiwan-made semiconductor or chips, right? NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, a lot of them, pretty much all of them. If we take a look at the American-made ones, there's really only two that come to mind. It's Intel and it's Lam Research. So I think we could see that money start to fall off and really go into those names. So Intel's still a big focus for me, guys. This today was a little bit different in the sense where I normally would add this. I'm sorry, OCD is going to kick in. But normally I would add this, right? I would totally add this. But the fact that we've seen a lot of trades lately kind of come underneath levels just a little bit and then wick back above and close back above, I was aware of that. So I'm not going to add early. I'm actually just going to wait for this to hit 24.59. Wait to see how it reacts, and then I'll add. I still have half my position for June, but if it does what I want, I think I'm just going to add into either February or re-add my half back on into those June contracts. This is such a key spot, guys. It's not just only testing this old high here, like very similar to Crowd. You guys should be reminiscent of Crowd or reminiscing of Crowd. This looks almost similar or almost identical, but it's also a really key weekly zone that's being reclaimed, right? So this is such a big spot. I don't think we should take our eyes off this one at all. I'm very excited to see how this one ends up playing out because I do think 29 to 30 is on the table for sure. Yeah, so that's going to be a big focus here in terms of like not only just the chart, but kind of the idea of what could happen if we start to see NVIDIA and broader Mag 7 sell off. This name, I think, is going to benefit a ton, especially if we start to see the ban on Taiwan-based chips or semis, right? Another one, obviously Tesla, right? I'm starting to lose my voice here, so I'm trying to go a little bit quicker. Gap is actually up here. You know how I am. I like to mark the daily gaps just because it's a little easier for you guys and the newer people in the Discord to spot, but the actual hidden gap or the true gaps here, right? If we go from close to the open, this is kind of the exact spot, right? This is what it should look like. And remember, I told you guys I was hoping ideally on these two inside bars here that we'd sell off, retest, and then kind of trend, right? Clearly, that's not going to happen. What I think could happen is a push up. We're going to be looking for a high tight flag once again off of this gap projection. If it can do that, I think we can press through this absorbed sell-off, or I'm sorry, this absorbed gap here, and then ideally it breaks, look for a base, and then ideally it continues up, right? And then we're looking for this to trade up into 91. This is going to be such a big trade because I think this is the biggest lagger right now, if I'm not mistaken. All the other names have gone. This is the one that's still lagging, that has signs of accumulation that has a resistance that's been pretty much absorbed at this 78.61 spot. It has, in my opinion, a straight shot, but I'm hoping that we can see sellers just do one last little favor for us and sell this and give us a divergent flag. Ideally, that kind of comes back into the EMAs, right, which are just slightly below, So if it kind of pulls back, I'm going to be using EMAs on this one. And then if you guys know, right, we can no longer risk the bottom here of the earnings candle. Instead, what it would be a risk off of here, right? So like entry, let's say it's like down here off this flag. I would kind of risk the earnings candle high at that point, and target would once again still be 91. So really good risk to reward trade there. It's just slight adjustments that have to be made on Roku in terms of where our entry would be and what we're looking for. And this is not going to be like an hourly flag. I know I keep getting questions about that. It's pretty much going to be a daily flag. Like we want to see 2 or 3 days of selling, right, in the divergence, and then look to take that. I'm trying to be as patient as I can with these names. So that's that one. Really important. We keep our eyes on that. And then MU, obviously. This one's a little bit different, though, guys. Like, I kind of talked about this one. I put it in the chat because I really am not too sure. Obviously, on the daily, we can all kind of agree this looks like a head and shoulders, right, with the left here, kind of the head, the right. But I'm trying not to look at it that way. Like, this name is still trending. We have clearly in this little gap zone here, we had a double bottom, and we're looking for a higher low off of this old weekly spot. I talk so much about this spot. We saw some buying kind of come in end of day here, but really I don't know if I really want to add this just yet. I want to wait and see if it can get above 114.80, and instead if it gets above 114.80, kind of decided I'll add here, right, on a roll and be a little bit more aggressive with my strikes and probably look for like, I don't know, like 120, 123 or 125. I think that's a safer bet at this point, and yeah, just kind of letting it get out of this look right now because I'm not the biggest fan of how this is looking at on the daily, despite it still trending. So just want to clarify that. And then obviously BA, right? BA, we'll see how this ends up looking. If this opens like around 147.58, I'll take these. But for right now, I'm still not uber confident in this one, so I'm just kind of keeping this on the back burner. But that's all I really want to talk about, guys. I mean, Oxy has reports tomorrow, so this will be big. You guys can see, right, it's still holding this low here, right? It's still holding this low. Another big buyer stepped in today and defended that low. So earnings tomorrow, we'll see what this ends up doing. And that's really it, guys. I just want to keep everybody's attention and like just kind of focus on the crypto-based names, focus on Tesla, focus on Intel, the names that I think could be beneficiaries if we see a broader market dispersion, right? All that liquidity coming out of the Mag 7, particularly NVIDIA, right? Because we've never seen it sell quite how we thought it would just yet, right? But if we start to see that money flow out of that one, it will start to go into some of these other names. I'm telling you guys, it'll go into a new theme. It'll go into kind of like the new shift, right? Remember, AI was the big thing. Now we're starting to see this whole crypto thing no longer just be an idea. I think we're starting to see larger acceptance and kind of the I don't know, dude. We're starting to see a shift. But yeah, that's a big one. I took GME as well. I know normally I don't take trades like this, but the volume here that we're seeing is so much different than some of the other volume. We already broke through a resistance here, and we pretty much have a straight shot up to 30. So we kind of closed near the highs here, so I just took some contracts. We should gap up. I think it's at 27, yeah, 27, 26. It gapped up, I think, to 28 if I'm not wrong, guys. Yeah, it closed around 28, hit a high of like 28.77-ish. I think in extended hours we're at like 28.50 or something. But yeah, if this hits, that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, it just feels like kind of like 2021, 2022, guys. But you just have to be smart and not chase the highs, even though it feels like things are getting away from you. Focus on the laggers, or if you really like the names that are leading, look at levels for pullbacks, right? I think it's pretty simple. You just got to be able to tame that beast inside of you that's forcing you or making you feel like you have to chase these things, because you don't have to. You really don't. I promise they will pull back, even if they feel like they won't. But if we do see a NVIDIA type thing, right, where they actually don't pull back for quite some time, there's been plenty of opportunities to get on dips. And that's why I'm trying to say don't take your eyes off of them still. It's like there's a reason I'm still charting coin and I still have coin on watch, right? Even though this thing feels like it's gone, because there could be a pullback entry, right? And it might even be smart for me to just do this, right? Maybe they defend the gap and put like an alert here. For sure going to do that. Mara, once again, earnings tomorrow. So if this ends up selling for some reason, or they do some another weird shady shelf offering, I think there's dip opportunity on that, but the main one is Riot. I just want to emphasize that. Keep everybody's eye on this one, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, dude, like I think there's going to be a generational opportunity somewhere in these ARC names, whether it's Tesla or Roku. MU obviously is going to be a good payday if it can kind of. I think above that 115 or 114.80 spot is probably the safest, but that will still be a really good payday. Intel, I think, is the main one. I think this is going to be a sick ass play, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity, guys. So I'm really excited. I'm like, dude, I'm just getting NVIDIA vibes. I'm getting NVIDIA vibes like so hard right now. I just think we're gonna see something crazy. I don't know exactly how far these things are gonna go. I bought fucking Whiff today, which is like a Solana coin, like literally a shit coin. I just have a crazy feeling. So yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. I'm gonna upload this on YouTube. Yeah, dude, I'm really excited. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Tuesday. Remember, we have CPI on Wednesday, which is going to be pretty big. And then we have PPI on Thursday. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.